Well, I am delighted to say that joining me on the Godcast this week is the band Enjoy the Silence UK, a tribute to Depeche Mode, and we've got Nick and Paul from the band with us. Guys, it's great to get you on. How are you?
Good,
Hi,
very
very
good.
well.
Happy to be here. Yeah.
Whereabouts are you in the world? Are you local to each other?
Ooh. I live in Bracknell. I'm kind of like a South Coast boy, so I was born just down the road from Brighton. I've kind of moved around a bit and ended up in Bracknell of all places. And Nick,
Yeah, I live in Bath. I've been in Bath for the last 30 years, but Bristol, born and bred. So stayed quite close to Bristol, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, let's get down to it. Let's start with you, Nick. A lifelong Depeche Mode fan, or is this something that's come to you in more recent years?
Yeah, no, definitely a lifelong fan. Yeah, I always loved them right from the moment I heard them on the radio in the early 80s and hooked ever since.
Yeah. And Nick, sorry, Paul.
um, I mean, Depeche Mode were the first band I ever saw live. My parents took me to see them with my sister back in, I was going to give my age away now, back in 1982 on the Broken Frame tour. And it was kind of a bit embarrassing. It was an amazing gig, but we kind of pretended we weren't with our parents, because it was obviously not particularly cool. But yeah, I would say they were the first kind of electronic band, along with like Jean-Michel Jarre, which is not a band, but got me into electronic music and was a kind of gateway drug to a lot of other bands. And yeah, yeah, I mean, they've really shaped my musical career, definitely. And yeah, started way back in 1982. Never saw them with Vince Clarke, but saw,
Before me.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. I think Nick's seen them more times than I have, but yeah, I was actually kind of calculating how many times I've seen. I think it's 11, which Nick, I'm sure you can beat that.
yeah, I've lost count to be honest, but I mean, my first gig watching them was in Bristol, the Colston Hall, in 1984, on the Sunbreak Rewards tour. Which was pretty good to say the least. I really enjoyed it, and that was it. And I saw them that time, and just loved the music throughout the decades, really.
Yeah, it's quite bizarre, isn't it, to mention small venues and Depeche Mode.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me an image a few weeks ago, and it was Depeche Mode played at the King George's Hall in Bradford, which is a gig I went to, which I think was,
Oh.
I'm trying to think it was probably 88, I think, or and it was the smallest venue, and I remember it vividly, and it was like wow. But those days are long gone, aren't they? Depeche
Yeah,
Mode aren't going to
yeah.
play these kind of venues. Nick, sorry, Paul. When Vince Clarke left the band, you said you saw them in those really early days.
Yeah.
Was the changeover straightforward for you? Because the
Um,
music did go in a new direction, didn't it?
I think it kind of slowly mutated. I mean, obviously they did Broken Frame, without Alan. When Alan joined for the next album, and I think at the time I was kind of conflicted because I really loved Depeche Mode, and then it's like all my my favorite bands kind of split. But then there's this other band called Yazoo, and I thought, "God, I really like them as well." So well, who's my favorite band? But no, I don't know. It felt like I mean, Broken Frame was a different kind of album. I think it's at the time it didn't. I don't know. It wasn't brilliantly well received, but I really really like it. I think it's one of those kind of underrated albums, and the transition between that one and the next one when Alan started to get involved with the writing and production, yeah, it slowly kind of mutated, and I think, and I just kind of grew to love them even more. Really, it wasn't like I know, right, with like the Human League when they kind of split earlier and they got the girls in, that upset a lot of early fans, and I think with Depeche it just had a more of a gentle kind of trajectory, I guess, in
Mm,
terms of the change in sound. Yeah.
yeah. Nick, was there a particular song that kind of really reeled you in?
Not really. Not one particular song. I think the first album it initially lured me in, and I thought, well, this is a bit different. And I would say by '83, by Construction Time Again, by that album, that really got me really hooked. And by that time, that was it. That's what I was listening to was Depeche Mode throughout the '80s and up to sort of like the mid '90s. It was they're great eras. Absolutely
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, and I remember can't remember the year, but I remember having, I'm sure you'll be familiar with the album by Blancmange, Happy Families album, which was
Yeah.
a great electronic album, and didn't really know about Depeche Mode, and happened to watch the Tube one night. I think it was the Tube, and Martin Gore was singing Somebody dressed in a strange black leather dress and looking completely bizarre, and I was like, I was reeled in, and I couldn't work
Mhm.
out, and actually, as a teenage kid, there was an element of guilt, like, should I be actually looking at this kind of material,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but from then on in, it was kind of relentless. What is it? Do you think that is so unique about Depeche Mode, guys? Starting with you, Nick. I mean, some ways it disappoints me that they're so big now because I wanted them almost all for myself. I don't know if you guys feel that, but what is it? Do you think? What is the magic that's been happening over many years?
I think because they keep changing, their music is always evolving. It's always a bit different. From the early days, that sort of the light pop that we had from Vince Clarke, and then going on with Wilder and Gore, and it's all sort of so fresh. It seems, and every album has got such a uniqueness to it, and I think that's what sort of keeps the fans so on their toes and think, right,
Mhm.
you don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah. And what about you, Paul?
Um, I think it's the songwriting. I mean, Gore must have been under incredible pressure when Vince Clarke kind of left, the key
Mhm.
songwriter. I mean, Gore had a couple of tracks on the first album. One was an instrumental, there's another one. But, to fill those kind of songwriting shoes is a pretty big ask. And, as I say, like Broken Frame was a transitional album. When he, hit stride, the songwriting as a tribute band, it's almost we have too many good songs to choose from as to the ones we actually play, and it's a little bit of a dilemma, isn't it, Nick? We always keep saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
we should do that song. Oh no, let's do that song. Let's do that one." And
yeah.
for me, it's the mixture of the songwriting and the production. I mean, I love the early kind of pure analog electronic stuff, but when Alan joined the band, it just kind of became, he was a very good keyboard player and a producer as well, and it kind of took the band to the next level. So
Mhm.
yeah, songwriting and production for me.
Mhm.
And what about albums? I mean, obviously, Violator is kind of attributed as the album, which is probably correct, but there are a number of albums for me that are a bit of a moving feast. Songs of Faith and Devotion is an album that I now, as a guy in my 50s, as a priest, I just find it quite an incredible piece of work, and probably a time when the band were at their lowest.
Hmm.
For me, they produced their very best stuff. But then, as a kid growing up, I completely adored music for the masses and Black Celebration. So
Yeah.
which camp are you guys in? Start with you, Nick.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Violator was an absolutely fantastic album. Black Celebration was equally an amazing album. But I can take something from every album. I just, yeah, there. Even like up to Ultra. Ultra was a great album as well. I thought that was a really good album, and even playing the Angel. There were some good tracks on there, but I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe. Violator was my favorite album, I would say. But yeah, there's just so many great tracks on every album. Basically, it's very difficult to select one that I can say, well, that's that's the one. It's just every album for me. Has been great up to sort of Ultra, as I say, and then it started to tail off a little bit going beyond that for me anyway. But even now, I'm still listening to everything. Every album they've made, I'm still listening to. So, yeah.
Yeah, Paul.
I mean, the obvious one is Violator, and actually Nick kind of jumped in there with Ultra. I think I come back to Ultra quite a lot,
Hmm.
and because I don't know, there's quite good emotional content with that album with tracks like Home.
Mm.
And they took a little bit of a risk with using like Tim Simonon from Bomb the Bass as a producer. It's a kind of shame they didn't do any more stuff with him because he kind of, I don't know, he brought a different kind of edge to their sound, and some of the songwriting on that album is great. You've got It's No Good,
Mm.
Mm.
Say Like Home,
Fantastic.
and then I feel things kind of tailed off a little bit after that. But yeah, obviously I love Violator. I mean, all the albums before that, have got at least a half a dozen decent tracks on them,
Yeah.
and you can easily listen back to those again. So, but Ultra's a little bit the kind of dark horse that I like to go back to. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a great album. I think it's High Love on that. I think High Love's on Ultra, is it?
Uh, or it's
Yeah,
I think it is.
Higher Love is
yeah,
on
it
Songs
is.
of Faith and Devotion, but
Mm.
is it
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
is it Free Love? Is it Free
Free
Love or is
Love.
that
Yeah.
Exciter?
Free Love. Yeah.
Exciter's the one out of the album I don't tend. I had a go at it fairly recently, but it's not for me. It's not that great. But
Yeah. As I seek out Depeche Mode content, something that irritates me a little bit is the old Alan Wilder kind of drama and saga that
Mm.
rumbles on. Um, where do you guys sit with that? When he left, with Depeche Mode's best days immediately behind them, or what do you make of it?
Um, I mean, if I can jump in, I mean, I think obviously
Yeah,
they made
sure.
Ultra without him, and I think that was a pretty strong kind of album. But I think they had the right producer, and I
Mm.
think with Martin, he kind of needs like a muse, someone that can actually frame his songs in the right kind of way. Because I mean, Wilder's really kind of famous for taking, I don't know, songs like because Enjoy the Silence was meant to be a ballad. Martin
Mm.
said, "Oh, this is the ballad." And then Alan was, "Oh no, no, this is going to be this can be a dance track." And he fought his corner, and it is obviously turned into what it is now. And I think, yeah, it's Gore really kind of needs that muse, and I think he's found it to a little degree with working with Richard Butler from Psychedelic Furs on the last album, which I kind of wish they'd done that a little bit earlier. I can't
Mm.
what was the question? I can't remember what the question.
Well, just whether it was a downward trajectory
Okay.
Alan left.
I think it was a slow one. I completely understand. I think from what I can have read, why Alan left, and it was a division of workload, sort of thing. In terms he felt he was maybe not getting the financial rewards and doing most of the work in the studio, where other members in the band were maybe playing table football or doing doing stuff that was maybe not as productive. But uh, yeah, I mean, Wilder was, I think through those early albums, definitely he was Martin Gore's muse, and
Mm.
the songs wouldn't have sounded as good without him, even with another producer on board, I think.
Yeah. Nick, what's your take on the Alan
Yeah,
conundrum?
yeah, I agree totally. I think you know, when Wilder left, there was definitely something not quite as good. But they've still kept to a very, very good standard, and but definitely Wilder was just a genius. I think he just brought out such good songs, and it was. But yeah, so even now, they're still bringing out records. I mean, I look like Ghost Again, which is
Mm.
that was a for me still a great song.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best songs that Martin's written for a long time, actually.
Yeah,
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 it is a
Oh,
great
we, we,
song.
we, we love playing that one, don't we, Nick? So,
we
Yeah,
do,
it's
yeah,
great. It's
and
great tune. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the
And
audience of it.
what about Fletch, guys? I mean, I know that Fletch wasn't known for his musical contribution to the band particularly, but he was very much Depeche Mode, wasn't he? I mean, I
Yeah.
really miss his presence. I don't know what you guys feel.
yeah.
Oh,
I
without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was Depeche Mode, wasn't he? He's just such a so passionate, and kept the bands on straight and narrow at times by the sound of it. And I think he was everything really, wasn't he? It was such a travesty when he passed away.
Yeah.
Such a shock.
Yeah, I think
There was a great interview, Paul, with Martin Gore talking about Fletch, and I think the story was something along the lines of, Martin was going down to his local bar in Santa Barbara, wherever it is he lives, and it never mentioned to the guys that, you know, that he was in one of the biggest bands in the world. And then
mm,
Fletch turned up and kind of went, "Hi," and the guy said, "What do you do?" And Fletch said, "Well, I'm in this band called Depeche Mode." As he never told you, and the point was that Fletch was the biggest advocate of the band.
uh, yeah,
Yeah, I
I
heard
get the
that.
impression he was kind of like the glue that held everything together. And in the early days, he played a lot actually. He generally played all the bass lines, and I think if there's a downside of Wilder coming on board, I think he was probably sidelined and probably felt probably a little bit edged out because he wasn't as musical as Alan was. But I think without him, the band probably arguably wouldn't have lasted as long as it had done. I think
Mm.
because he's if you've been in a band, it's not often just about the musicianship. It's about the camaraderie and the friendships you have, particularly if you're doing these massive kind of world tours where it's there's a lot of stuff going on. And yeah, he's really sadly missed, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's nice to hear that you feel that as well. What
Mm.
about
Definitely.
the world of tribute acts? I really enjoy it. I mean, I've been to a couple of tribute act festivals and I've really enjoyed the nostalgia and contemporaries of yours, the Devout, have also been on the podcast. There's a real kind of thirst for it. It seems to be. Is that fair to say, Paul?
Yeah, I think there's a mix of. I've often thought about that. I think the tribute thing. I mean, when I was kind of younger musician, I thought, oh, the tribute bands are a bit stupid, aren't they? Just why would you want to go and see one of those when you could see the real band? But now a lot of the acts that we like are kind of, they're getting older, they're retiring. Unfortunately, they're passing away, so you can't always see them. Ticket prices for the original bands are just going mental at the moment. If you want to see a big band in a stadium, you're often shelling out over 100 quid. And sometimes, I'm not saying Depeche Mode, but some bands kind of lose their way a little bit. And
Mm.
having shared a stage, we do things like fake festivals, and we played, tribute band festivals, and you hear some of these other bands, like often like rockier ones. We play with like Oasis, Foo Fighters tributes, and some of them are absolutely incredible. And I kind of listen for actually, I think I almost rather go and see them than the original band, and because they're cheaper, you can see them, you kind of get that small club atmosphere, and often they'll play songs that the original band won't play anymore. And I think that's, I don't know, that's my nutshell of why I think a lot of tributes are gaining traction now and becoming popular.
Yeah, and Nick replicating the band is, I suppose, have you watched Endless Hours of you for people who are watching or listening, Nick, you are Dave Gone.
Yes, yes,
Have you
I
spent
have.
endless hours watching his move and
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been wanting to, put out a Depeche Mode tribute for a long, long time, and it's taken probably over 10 years to find the right members to work with. So, I've had a lot of time to study, and yeah, I sort of tend to take off Dave more in the latter years. I mean, being more of a senior, guy. So, but he's still such a lively character. You watch him on stage, he's so fit for his age.
yeah,
So it's yeah, it's a quite an energetic role. But I'm studying all the time. Watching videos. Breaking down the tracks, listening to his voice. Separating it so I can just listen to all his, his sounds and it's ongoing basically.
yeah. Have you noticed subtle changes in his voice over the years that you've kind of, if you could just unpack that a bit, what you've noticed?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, his voice is quite gravelly now. I think he's maybe lost a bit of his quality, shall I say. But he's still, he's still got it for his age. I mean, he's still very, very good.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, the voice has definitely changed. I would say in the last 15 years, there's a massive difference, in his sound. It's more of a deeper, more gravelly voice, really, to what it was before.
Yeah, I mean, just going back, Paul, to Songs of Faith and Devotion, I felt that they drained every sinew of his vocal cords out in that album, thinking particularly of Condemnation.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think he did have trouble with his vocal cords, didn't he,
Mm.
throughout his career? And it always amazes me how they do those huge tours, and he manages to maintain that kind of voice now.
And just the energy with his dancing. I mean, sort of picking up Nick. I mean, Nick, it's not just the singing; it's the dance moves that Nick studies, and I know he spends a lot of time doing it. Um, and you always want to kind of give your best performance, not vocally, but moving around a lot. You kind of get a bit disappointed when we have a smaller than average stage,
Yes.
don't you? You've nearly fallen off a couple, haven't you, actually?
Oh, crikey, yeah. Yeah, the bigger the stage, the better for me,
Yeah.
because when especially when you're doing some of the spinning, that can be a little bit you can get a bit unbalanced with that. And when we, I mean, our last gig, we are playing a fairly smallish stage, and wow, I was lucky not to hit all the kit over. It would have been quite quite embarrassing. But yeah, no, you're right. It's there is a lot of energy on that stage from us all. Really, I think all of our performances are very energetic, and we
Yeah,
try and give everything, don't we, when we're out there?
yeah. What about the musicality, Paul? Are they an easy band to uplift, or does that just
Um,
to explain the process to us a bit there? So, if you're taking a song like maybe like Ghosts Again, which is quite new, how do you set about taking up something like that project?
I mean, I'm the kind of main programmer in the band. Russ, who's not with us, not on the call at the moment, he does some stuff as well. But for me, I think it depends on the era of the song as to how easy they are to replicate. And the earlier stuff is actually easier because if you listen to it, it's all kind of simple, monophonic,
Mm.
analog synths. And Vince, that was very much Vince Clarke. He's great at actually taking three or four mono melodies using different sounds and locking them together. And actually, those early songs are actually quite straightforward to replicate. The the real kind of bitch is actually the songs of faith and devotion, and that's probably why we don't. It's a very dense kind of album. There's a lot of loops in it, and it's kind of surprising because I tend to get a bit of become a bit of a detective and kind of do forensic searching on how they made certain tracks, and they used a lot of samples, lots of loops, and there's all kind of weird. I think we're working on Barrel of a Gun at the moment, and even that's got like an Emerson, Lake and Palmer drum loop in it. You'd never know unless some sad person on Wikipedia has kind of found out. And so it's attention to detail. I think the other thing that's helped is like a few years ago, Alan went through a messy divorce, um, and he ended up selling a lot of his equipment online, I think, to fund the divorce, including all of his samples from some of their world tours. And because they were like audio files, these samples eventually ended up on the internet. And so we do have some of Alan's original, and actually the whole band's like emulator, which is one of the sampling synths they used back then, patches, and the original samples they use. And obviously we don't have all of them, but it certainly helps with certain key sounds, whether it's like sounds on People Are People. They have a little sound called a pfennig, which is a German coin that I think Alan plucked a guitar string with, and they use that on, I think, People Are People, that kind of twangy guitar sound. And those sounds are really hard to make from scratch unless you've actually got the original samples. So yeah, and I don't want it to sound exactly like the original because often I'll put a little fresh twist on it and
Mm.
maybe hype up the drums or add some more kind of modern production twists on it. But I think you need to keep those key kind of talisman, iconic sort of sounds in there. Otherwise the fans will kind of notice and think, well, that's not quite
Yeah,
right.
yeah. And Nick, when you're performing in front of hardcore Depeche Mode fans, how deep do you allow yourself to go? Because I think one of the I think one of the long the long-standing qualities of the band is the quality of the lyrics against the quality of the music. And
Yeah.
and and I saw them twice on the last tour, and I was surprised how deep I went. I was like taken away for 2 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Is that the same feeling for you when you're in front of an audience?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you just lose yourself from the moment I walk on that stage. I'm just in the role, And it's amazing, really. It's just such a natural thing for me now. I just go out there and perform, and people are really complimentary, and it's just a lovely feeling just to go out there and give it your best, and just recreating the sound and seeing such happy people out there. It's an
Is
amazing feeling.
is there particular songs that really touch your heartstrings or
Well, my favorite song to perform to, believe it or not, is "It's No Good." I just think it's just got such a great vibe to it. It's a very lively, punchy song,
Mm.
and to dance to is absolutely fantastic. You know,
Yeah.
but I mean, "Enjoy the Silence," obviously, is just an incredible song. And me and Russ, who takes off Martin, it's just a really good connection. Just playing alongside together. It's just a lot of energy. Um, but every song that we perform is just fresh, and Paul is such a great programmer, and he comes up with these songs and we're like, wow, that sounds so good, and we just can't wait to get out and play them. And we're always putting new material in our set. We're always trying to keep everyone sort of happy, because like you say, Depeche Mode fans are, they know what they want, and so we got to keep them happy, which
Yeah.
is what it's all about.
It's No Good is a song I've had an interesting relationship with. I never used to like it for a long time.
Really?
I just thought it dragged on a bit, but actually now I really love it. I think it's a really quality track.
Yeah.
I find myself singing it all the time, often singing it around the house.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
love that opening line, going to take my time. I've got all the time in the world. That's what I love about music. I don't know if you
Yeah.
find that, Paul, that it changes, doesn't it? As we change, we get older.
Mm,
Good music changes with us.
mm. Yeah, no, definitely. And that question about, I mean, I can agree with Nick. The two songs I enjoy playing are Enjoy the Silence and It's No Good. And um, for me, it's just like the next best thing to being the actual band itself, really. So
Mm.
I just love it. If I could, play even longer sets, I would. But it's a pleasure to be able to play these songs, and also to be in a band with guys we all get on really, really well. And it's taken a little while to kind of get the right kind of lineup. We've got Andy on board now, who is he plays electronic drums and real drums as well. So we can kind of cover the early stuff, but also bring that kind of live dynamic, which I think works really well, doesn't it, Nick, on
Oh,
songs?
crikey.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
And he's
Definitely.
great. He can play with sequence stuff as well, which not every drummer can. And he's got backing vocals. I think vocally, actually, I'm the only one in the band who can't sing, so I'll leave that to the other guys. But they can lock in these three-part harmonies, and I think that gives us a little bit of an edge sometimes. I think so.
Yeah.
Tell us, Paul, about Depeche Mode fans. It is a bit of a community, isn't it? And
Mm.
one of the band I think described themselves as the biggest underground band in the world. Which I thought was quite sweet. But there is something I don't know. I find it remarkable. What do you feel?
Um, I mean, they are kind of known as either like the Black Swarm or devotees, aren't they? And there are people that literally follow them everywhere. I've known friends who've literally followed them around the world, given up their job and kind of pretty much gone on tour with them to see all the dates. And I don't, yeah, I think it is almost, I don't know, I suppose for some people it seems a bit like a religious experience. I think possibly for
Mm.
some people, and they're into the music so much that they want to consume all of it, and see the band as many times as possible. And but
Excuse me.
but as I said, for me, it's just because they were such an influence on me, and with my playing and wanting to get in synthesizers. So
Mm.
that's the main thing for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for people who are watching or listening to the Godcast for the first time on the camera, I'm a priest. I've got this question for you, Paul. Does it surprise you that a priest might say that Depeche Mode were integral to my faith journey?
That's a great question. I mean, we were a little bit, I think, surprised when he approached us, and but. no, it obviously became apparent that you were a really, really big fan, and it's interesting because obviously, actually, there was a weird kind of story over Christmas because a friend of the family said, "Oh, she asked Siri or something, or can you play a Christmas song?" And Siri played "Personal Jesus," so it was, and but so obviously there's a lot of religious connotations with a lot of mode stuff, particularly the latter stuff. So no, I get it completely. I can understand, and maybe you listen to stuff in a different way that I don't know. It's yeah. What do you kind of get out of it, Alex?
Well, I did. Blasphemous Rumors was a song that at the time didn't really think I'm going to be a priest. I didn't become a priest till I was in my 40s, but it was a song that had a profound
Oh, well.
something going on in my head
Yeah.
that was like, what is this about? This is about God. This is about death, as what a lot of Depeche Mode records are. And I think that did lead me on a bit of a journey, and then leading to an album like Songs of Faith and Devotion, where I thought was particularly religious heavy.
Mhm.
It's just incredible. Does it surprise you, Nick, in any way that
Um, no, I don't think so. I think, the music is just, it appeals to, you know, everybody. It seems, it's just such a loved, you know,
mm,
style of music, and
mm,
like all music, really, I guess. And but no, to answer your question, not really, no. But like you say, blasphemous rumors. When we perform that one, I must admit, I really get chokes at singing it,
mm,
and you sort of visualizing, and yeah, it just sort of it hits home to you, and you think, wow, this, it's a very, very strong hitting
yeah,
song, isn't it? Very
yeah.
strong.
I could do a playlist of songs that I feel profoundly affect. Like Home from Ultra is a song that is. Oh, I just
Oh,
think it's such a special,
yeah,
incredible piece of music, incredible lyrics, and there's a song called "Damaged People." I'm trying to think which album it's on. Could be Playing the Angel. That
yeah.
not particularly well known song, but that Martin sings, and there's a line in there where it says, "We're damaged people drawn together by subtleties we are unaware of," and I just think that's such a beautiful lyric,
Mm, mm.
just so beautiful. But anyway, what's the year looking like for you guys? You've got a busy spring and summer ahead.
Yeah, I actually
Looking
kind of
good.
I made a little. Sorry, Nick, go on. Sorry.
No, no, no. You carry on, mate. Carry on.
So actually, we got a little bit of a break next month, which is will actually give us a chance to do some rehearsing and get some new songs under our belt. Then March, I mean, I've got a little list here. So we're playing Stoke. Our next gig is the Artisan Tap in Stoke on the 27th of March. Then the day after, we're playing Castle and Falcon in Birmingham, 28th. But rest of the year, we kind of hit festival season in the middle. So we do fake festivals, and we're playing a big festival on an island somewhere, which we're not allowed to actually technically mention in June, but you might be able to
Yeah.
guess.
Isle of Blue,
Yeah.
something like that.
We were honoured to play last year, and they've asked us back, which is nice. And
Fabulous, yeah.
Can't wait. Yeah.
we are, yeah, we're all over the place. We're Worthing, Bath, Bristol, Derby, and obviously scouting around for.
We need to get Burnley on there at some point.
Yeah, if you can recommend any
Yeah.
venues, Alex. Yeah,
Well, I
yeah.
could certainly recommend a lovely church that's helped. We've done a few comedy nights and shows, and I would love to see a Depeche Mode tribute band in my church because people would come. I think
Oh, wow.
We should do that.
so maybe
Yeah,
we should talk about that at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've played a
Okay.
couple of churches, haven't we, Paul? We
Yeah.
played one.
we played something in
Um,
school. It was like Litchfield Arts Centre, and I don't think it was an actual, but it was very much like a church, and it was an amazing venue to play. Like
Mm.
doing blasphemous rumors in that kind of a venue was yeah,
oh,
pretty cool. Yeah.
yeah, it was.
Yeah. Fabulous. Well, just before we go, do further promote yourselves. Where can people find you, Nick? Where can people learn more about you?
So yeah, we've if you're on the social media, Facebook is or Instagram, you can find us on there. And yeah, they're our main sort of places that we put all our stuff up, aren't they, Paul? Really?
Yeah, so enjoy the Silence UK Facebook. You can contact the band via there, just as a fan or if you're interested in booking us as well. And but yeah, Facebook, Instagram. We're kind of developing some of the other social medias, but as Nick said, those are the primary ones for us. Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, great. Well, I could talk to you all night about Depeche Mode,
yes, yeah.
but I don't want to bore you to death. But I've got one final question for you both. So I'm going to do the old desert island discs on you. You know, you can take one Depeche
Oh
Mode
wow.
record to the desert island.
Yeah.
Paul, let's go with you
Is
first. What
that
are
a
you
song or
taking?
out? Sorry, was that a song or album?
A song.
Song.
Oh crikey.
It would have to be Enjoy the Silence for me. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Do you know? I think what mine would be. Crikey.
We got an album, Paul. You take while Nick's
Um,
thinking.
I might actually controversially go for Ultra. I'd take Ultra just because I feel it's a bit underrated and yeah, it's got some great tracks on
Do you know what? That is such a hard question. I
it.
should have had a think before about this. Crikey,
Mm.
go.
What's your name of the first album?
Yeah, yeah.
I've got while you're thinking, I think I'd probably take somebody, from
Mhm.
Some Great Reward. I think just because it was the beginning for me.
Was it? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, album probably Songs of Faith and Devotion. I do particularly like Walking in My Shoes. I think that's
yeah.
an
That's a beautiful
amazing
song. Yeah,
song. So
I think for me, like what really drew me in, like "Leaving Silence" was a song that I
mm,
absolutely loved back in the day. And still love performing it now. It's such a great song. Um, Yeah, and I think like what Paul said, like enjoy the silence is just it's timeless. It's just such a I'll never get bored of listening to it or performing it. So they're probably my two songs, I would say.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll give you plenty of thinking time there. If anybody's checking this out on YouTube, drop your comments in and let us know what song you take with you. But Paul and Nikki, I've really enjoyed talking to you about my favorite band, Depeche Mode, a real passion of mine, clearly a passion of yours, and maybe we'll catch up sometime in the future. But for now, thanks for coming on the Godcast.
Thank you so much, Alex. Okay,
Thanks
cheers.
very much.